Covenants are important to the ways of our being in congregation, to our doing church as a community, to our living in ways of togetherness. In 2017, I preached 3 sermons on covenant the month after I began my work as the Toledo Unitarians minister, and long before we had a video presence at First Unitarian Church of Toledo. In 2024, when bringing a new sermon on covenant, I slightly revised and recorded the 3 earlier sermons. As a companion to the 2024 talk on congregational covenants, with the help of our producer-director Walter McGee and production assistant Julia McGee, who is also the acting president of our church board, I have included the 2017 talks as bonus content. A reading by John Nichols. Liberal congregations survive because they recognize they are united by an unwritten covenant. The covenant I speak of is a promise we make to one another that we will support the church as an institution, recognizing that our level of support may have to be increased over the years. If this covenant is faithfully kept by most people, the congregation prospers. If the opposite is the case, the congregation enters into a descending spiral with painful decisions having to be made each year. In this time in our nation's history, every justice-seeking congregation counts for a lot, and I hope you'll give your full attention to this one. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. That's the covenant that we say in this congregation every Sunday. In this series of sermons, I am talking about covenant as our way of being together and suggesting that we claim a conscious practice of covenanting in our church relationships to be better aware of our interdependence and attentive to our ways of being together. Our spoken Sunday covenant is, as we say, our great one, the one to help us find and live out together the ways of love, as Alice Blair Wesley wrote for a lecture on Unitarian Universalist covenanting. With our dedication to shared ministry, added covenants I make, and covenants you make, and covenants we all make to or with the congregation, committees, co-workers, individuals, and to friends and colleagues outside our assembly, those covenants will illustrate aspects of ministry in this church. The word ministry isn't part of our great covenant, but the words we speak describing our doctrine, sacrament, and service tell how we share our ministry to keep that covenant of peace, love, and help. One of my charges at the beginning of my settled ministry here was to find new ways of doing church, of being church. The covenant is a very old way, but it's been receiving renewed attention. I think our giving attention to covenant will serve us well. I've been a person who likes to see things in writing, especially documents that help to guide. Covenants are spoken, yes, but they are also set into writing, so we can have reminders of what we say, what we mean, how to go about life together. In essence, religious covenants say what ministry is, who we mean to be, what we mean to do, how we mean to make that happen. First Unitarian Church of Toledo could benefit from having covenants as a major way to bind us congregationally and denominationally. And as we're more conscious about being a group involved in shared ministry, covenants help us to be together in positive relationships. And at times, the covenants might be an indicator of when somebody is out of relationship, out of covenant, and how to begin to get back in. We can start covenanting without any formal procedures, but there will be benefits to having procedures if we begin a process of going to some existing committees or forming new groups to study and put into words some possible covenants that guide our behavior and spell out right relations, what being out of covenant means, and how getting back into covenant comes about, plus sometimes the possibility of a relationship being permanently severed. Being with other people can be messy, can't it? In a religious body like ours, covenanting can help to minimize the mess. You might say that I'm a recent convert to the covenantal way. Experience in the working world has taught me to be cynical about organizations' drafted frameworks of commitment to their employees. I remember the Blueprint for Improvement from a state government agency I worked for that looked really nice but seemed to stay on the drafting board. And the special task forces and meetings at a large publication that seemed to end with the report rather than implement change. So to have covenants become a new channel for church documents hasn't appealed to me. But then I started talking to others, from ministerial colleagues who suggested covenants to congregation members who indicate the benefits of greater structure and guidance. A church isn't an organization of the types that gave those plans that went nowhere. We're here for each other, and mostly a self-supporting institution. So it's in our interests to figure out who we are and how we can live well together rather than going through the motions to satisfy some checklist coming from above. We do this on the human level and try to be better people. If we act on our religious intent, covenant could be a way to go. If we make covenants living documents, not end-of-the-path reports, they can support our shared ministry. So I've become a convert, saying, let's be covenantal. I caution us not to get too caught up in the drafting and pretty words, a drawback I've seen with mission and vision statements. And to know spirit better than letter of the law, so a poorly used semicolon or typographical error won't change anything. And to know when written covenants are necessary and when spoken agreements carry the weight of covenant. Remember that they go to relationship. They're not laws and rules, but they can guide process. Having covenants as part of our religious practice gives us the freedom to be together in health and good intention, with shared ministry to one another and to the world. The ministry I emphasize is the shared ministry of all, which we became more conscious of after we had a year of being a congregation without a resident minister before you called me to be the full-time settled minister instead of an affiliated community minister. My position as the called minister of First Unitarian is interwoven into the shared ministry of all in the congregation. Reverend Gordon B. McKeeman published a meditation that includes these words I ask you to remember. Ministry is what we all do together. I want to hear your thoughts on covenant. For some of you, the one we say on Sunday might be enough. If that's the case, please be open to the reasoning of our being in conversation, in committees and other groups especially, about how we are best together. Covenants can help people new to our community become members, help us grow, allow for the change that comes in a congregation. We're always going to have the mixture of new people coming in, seasoned members leaving, and some seekers just passing through. Covenanting can help us make that mixed ministry a thriving congregation. Look to covenant as our unifying operative structure. It's a religious promise to work well together. It's foundational for our ministry, whether it's the traditional concept of one leader being the minister, or interpreted today as the how of all people sharing in the ministry of Unitarian Universalism. Let's try to find and live out together the ways of love, using Alice Blair Wesley's phrase, and with covenant, dwell together in peace, seek the truth in love, and help one another.